Well, tonight, a historic investment here in North Carolina between tech company Corning and Facebook's parent company, Meta.
A new cable manufacturing expansion will support AI buildout to accelerate the development of the most advanced data centers in the U.S.
Big tech sold the public a version of AI that sounded limitless. Every new model was supposed to be bigger, faster, smarter, and more profitable than the last. Investors were told the demand would keep climbing. Companies were told they had to build before they fell behind. And the rest of us were supposed to just believe this was all just software moving faster than any of us could comprehend. But that version of the story leaves out the part that we just can't overlook. AI does not float in the cloud. It sits inside massive buildings, burns through power, needs armies of chips, and depends on physical infrastructure that can break, bottleneck, or simply burn out. And that is exactly why Meta just committed up to $6 billion to Corning, a 175-year-old glass company most people still associate with phone screens, kitchenware, and maybe Gorilla Glass on an iPhone. That deal matters because it tells you what the AI boom actually is underneath all of the sales and marketing. It is not just a race for better chatbots. It is a race to build enough physical infrastructure to keep these machines talking to each other without collapsing on each other. Meta is not spending billions on fiber because fiber sounds exciting. Meta is spending billions because AI becomes useless if the data centers cannot move information fast enough. This is the part of the AI story that doesn't show up in the keynote. The public sees the demo, investors see the stock chart, and executives talk about intelligence, agents, automation, and the future of work. But behind that entire machine is a brutal physical problem. The more powerful these AI systems become, the more they need to connect thousands and eventually millions of chips together. Those chips need to pass information back and forth constantly. If that communication slows down even in the slightest, the whole system could break. So while everyone is staring at NVIDIA GPUs, Corning is quietly sitting inside one of the most important bottlenecks in the entire AI race. Corning makes optical fiber, which is basically glass so pure that data can move through it as pulses of light. That sounds simple until you understand what it replaces. Traditional copper wiring moves data through electrical signals, but copper uses more power, creates more heat, and becomes harder to scale as systems get bigger. Fiber moves photons instead of electrons, and that matters because AI data centers are already running into power and space limits, which we covered in our previous video. When electricity and heat becomes a constraint, when every inch inside a facility starts to matter, fiber stops looking like a background utility and starts looking like a weapon. That is why the Corning story is more revealing than it first appears.
Well, it would be the fiber to connect those data centers together, as well as the fiber optics inside the data center. And you need both. Historically, inside a data center, for a cloud-based data center, they had fiber in them. But to do Gen AI, you create a new network, a new back-end network to connect all those GPUs together, creating the so-called neural network. All of those are connected with fiber, and it needs 10 times as much fiber on the first generation of those products. And with each new generation of GPUs, it grows by 4 times.
Corning's new cable is designed to pack the same number of fibers into a smaller footprint, which means more connection can move through the same physical pathways. That may not sound as dramatic as a new AI model, but it could be just as important. If the infrastructure cannot keep up, the model does not matter. This is also why the $6 billion number hits so hard. Meta is not making a tiny bet here. It is locking in supply through the end of the decade because it believes the AI race will require a level of infrastructure most people still do not fully grasp. And Meta is not alone. Corning supplies fiber and connectivity to the major hyperscalers and AI players. NVIDIA, OpenAI, AWS, Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Meta are all part of the same larger pressure system. Every one of these companies is trying to build bigger, faster, and more connected infrastructure, before the next competitor does. But here is where the story gets risky. Corning has seen a fiber boom before. During the dot-com era, fiber demand exploded because everyone believed the internet would keep expanding forever in a straight line. Then the bubble burst and Corning's stock got hammered. That history matters because the AI boom is now creating the same kind of pressure. Companies are announcing giant data centers, trillion-dollar compute deals, massive energy needs, and infrastructure plans that sound almost unreal. The question is not whether AI needs fiber. It does. The real question is whether every one of these giant AI buildouts actually happens the way big tech is promising. Because if the buildout slows, somebody is going to be left holding the extra capacity. That is the cynical lens people need to bring to this story. Corning may be one of the biggest winners if the AI race keeps moving, but it is also tied to the same boom and bust risk that follows every infrastructure mania. The company says it is better prepared this time because it has other businesses. It makes glass for phones, cars, displays, medical vials, and other products. That matters. But the market is still rewarding Corning right now because of the AI story. And AI stories can turn fast when investors start questioning whether the demand is real or just pulled forward by panic. And that panic is everywhere. Big tech is not building calmly, it is rushing. It is grabbing land, power, chips, fiber, and supply chains because the fear is simple. If you are late, you lose. That is how bubbles form. But it is also how real industrial shifts happen. The hard part is knowing which one this is before the bill comes due. Corning is useful here because it shows both sides at once. On one side, the demand looks real. AI data centers need fiber. Copper is running into limits. Power efficiency matters. Dense cable matters. Domestic supply chains matter. On the other side, the size of the spending is so large that it raises a fair question. Are these companies building for actual demand, or are they building because nobody wants to be the first one to slow down? That is why this deal matters beyond Corning. It exposes the hidden cost of the AI boom. Every time a tech CEO says AI is the future, there is a factory somewhere being asked to produce more cable, more glass, more power equipment, more cooling systems, more chips, more steel, and more land. The public hears about intelligence. The infrastructure companies hear about capacity. And right now, Corning is being told to produce enough fiber for a future that may either become the next great industrial buildout or another overbuilt tech fantasy. The wild part is that Corning keeps ending up in these moments. It made glass for Edison's light bulbs. It made Pyrex. It made spacecraft windows. It made Gorilla Glass for the iPhone after Steve Jobs pushed the company to do what it first said could not be done. And now it is being pulled into the AI race because the next bottleneck is not just intelligence, it is connection. If the chips cannot communicate fast enough, if the data centers cannot scale efficiently enough, if the power bill becomes too brutal, the AI story starts to crack. So the real headline is not that Corning landed a big deal. The real headline is that Meta's $6 billion commitment reveals what the AI industry is afraid of. The future they are selling needs more than code. It needs a physical machine underneath it that can actually survive the demand. It needs glass, power, land, cooling, and factories. And the more big tech promises that AI will change everything, the more it has to spend proving the infrastructure can handle the promise. That is why Corning matters now. Not because glass suddenly became glamorous, but because AI is running into the real world. And when a 175-year-old glass company becomes one of the hidden winners of the most hyped technology on Earth, it tells you something important. The AI boom is not weightless. It is heavy, expensive, fragile, and dependent on a supply chain most people never think about. Meta just put up to $6 billion behind that reality. Now, the only question is whether this is the beginning of a massive new infrastructure era or the moment big tech started revealing how desperate the AI race has really become.